Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss a very important long answer question from the IES Indian Economic Service General Economics Paper 2 2026. Now before we begin, let me tell you why this question is extremely important. The IES examination is one of India's most prestigious examination for the economist. So unlike many competitive examination that simply test the memory, IES tests your conceptual understanding, the analytical ability and the critical evaluation skills. So whenever the examiner asks us to examine critically, he is not asking us merely to define a theory. He expects three things: explain the theory, compare it with another theory, and evaluate its strengths and weaknesses. So today's question contains all three dimensions. So let's first read the question carefully. Examine critically Friedman's quantity theory of money. How far is it correct to say that Friedman reaches at the same result earlier arrived at by Fisher? What makes Friedman argue that quantity theory of money is a theory of demand for money? Okay. Now, whenever you see the words Fisher, money supply, and Friedman, money demand, immediately your brain should ring a bell. Although both discuss the quantity theory, their starting points are completely different. But remember this one line throughout your career. Fisher asks, what does money do? And Friedman asks, why do people hold money? So this single distinction can fetch the extra marks. Okay. Now, come to the part one. Okay. Explain Friedman's quantity theory of money. So let's first understand the background. During the 1930s and 1940s, Keynesian economics become dominant, and he argued that money demand depends mainly on income and interest rate. Monetary policy is often weak and fiscal policy is more effective. And Milton Friedman changed the view completely. He reviewed the quantity theory of money in 1950s and 1960s and called it the modern quantity theory of money. Okay, but notice carefully, Friedman did not simply repeat Fisher. He completely reinterpreted the theory. Okay, so according to Friedman, money is just another asset. Just like people choose bonds, shares, houses, and they also choose money. So therefore, money demand is a portfolio decision. Now, what is Friedman's demand function? Where YP is the permanent income, RB, that is the return on bounds, RE, this is the return on equity, pi to the power E, this is the expected inflation, and U, this is the other institutional factors. Okay, so let's talk about the permanent income. This is not today's income. This is the average long run expected income. And students usually confuse the permanent income with the current income. Suppose someone receives a bonus today. Will he permanently increase the consumption? No, because the permanent income has not changed. So therefore, the Friedman says money demand depends mainly upon the permanent income, not the temporary income. Okay. Now let's talk about the interest on bonds. Higher bond returns means people buy the bonds and then hold less money. So therefore, money demand decreases. And if I talk about the expected inflation, suppose the inflation become 12%. Okay. So will you keep the cash? No, because money loses purchasing power and hence expect a higher expected inflation. That means a lower demand for money. Now come to the returns on shares. So if the stock market returns rise, people shift wealth to equities. Okay, so money demand falls. Now the main assumptions. According to Friedman, money demand is stable, velocity is predictable, people behave rationally, and monetary policy is effective in the long run. Okay, so what is the main implication? If money supply increases continuously, eventually prices also increase. So this become the foundation of the monetarism. Okay. Now remember this famous statement by Friedman. He said inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomena. Okay. So this is the main thing for this. Okay. Now come to the part two. Has Friedman reached the same conclusion as Fisher? Now comes the comparison. This is where many students lose mark. I know that. Now let's talk about the similarities first. Both economists believe in long run. Increase in money supply means increase in the price level. So both support money neutrality in the long run. So both reject the persistent inflation caused by the real factors alone. So yes, their final conclusion regarding inflation is similar. But are they really same? Absolutely not. This is where your critical analysis begins. What is the Fisher's equation? MV that is equal to PT, where M is the money supply, V is the velocity, P is the price level, and T is the transaction. So here velocity is assumed constant, and money is a supply. Money is simply a medium of exchange. Okay, so Fisher focuses on the supply of money. And if I talk about the Friedman's equation, so Friedman starts from demand for money. Money is treated as an asset and velocity is not mechanically constant. So instead, velocity becomes stable because money demand is stable. So this is a completely different theoretical foundation. Okay. So although Fisher and Friedman reached similar conclusion regarding the inflation and the money supply, their analytical frameworks are fundamentally different. Okay. So this was the whole thing. Now, I hope all these things are clear to you. See you in the next session. Bye bye.